We didn't invent the streaming software, but we helped make it work, and we helped integrate it, and we basically invented the streaming industry. When I see business processes, no matter what it is, I always say, okay, is this the way I would do it? Is this the best possible way to do it? What would make it more efficient? What would make it more profitable? Is there an opportunity? Are they doing it so wrong that, and this is the way it's always been done, that there's an opportunity for a new business? And then the last part is, am I willing to do the work to make sure I'm right? And so with Todd Wagner, who's one of my best friends, we would sit down and talk and BS about business all the time. And he came to me with, okay, some guy's trying to invent this thing using pagers to get scores and listen to scores, and I'm like, that's crazy. All this internet stuff is happening. You know, now when we listen to an Indiana basketball game, somebody puts a radio next to a speakerphone and we get on the other side down here in Dallas and listen to it on the speakerphone. There's got to be a better way. And so it was, you know, on one hand, because the fact I love to listen to Indiana basketball, I'm a big fan, created the opportunity, but it really was the same way I approach everything, whether it's today or then. Is this the best process? Is this the best way? Is there a way to reinvent this? Is there a way to disturb it? You know, is there a way to completely disrupt them and put them completely out of business? And at that point, because the internet was brand new and I was still a tech geek, you know, I put the tech hat on. It's like, okay, let's see what we can do with the internet. So I bought myself a PC that I could dedicate it, put it in the second bedroom of my house, you know, spent maybe $4,000 altogether and bought a faster connection to the internet and just started teaching myself. You know, personally, I think every time is a perfect time to start a business. There's no bad times. If you do the work, if you do the preparation, you'll know when it's time. You don't have to quit the daytime job if you don't feel all that comfortable, and you can give it a run at night. But whatever works for you now with the internet, you've got all the choices in the world, and you can just go out there and do your own thing and you know, set up a business part-time. One of the things that companies do or startups do, they come up with an idea, they'll Google it, and if they don't see it in the first 2 pages, they think it's original. You've got to go back, right? Because over the past 15 years, there's so many different businesses that have tried and failed. You have to go back and find those and learn from those. So you've got to understand all the implications, and you have to learn from history. And so the best advice I can give you on a video before talking to you or emailing with you is that you've got to find out the history of people who have tried your idea, because there's a 99.99999% chance that your idea has been tried before. But you better learn from the history of your idea, because you know what they say about people who don't learn from history. I've been blessed. I mean, I made a lot of money at a relatively young age and was a millionaire a few times over, but just in terms of what you can do and the opportunities it buys, there's no comparison. Well, people, you know, that I'm close to, I know what's going on, and so it's really easy. You know, I don't do a lot of meetings, I don't do a lot of phone calls, I don't do a lot of sit downs. I do almost everything through Cyberdust or email, and that makes me a lot more efficient and gives me a lot more time. In terms of people wanting things, you know, it's the best problem in the world to have. And so I try to be nice, I try to be considerate. People who know me know what's important to me and what's not, and either you fit in that or you don't. Right, I want people to see stories. I wanted people to see, you know, that if I can do it, they can do it. And I don't want to get them all bogged down in, you know, this little story or that little story and try to sound smart or be smart. I figured, you know, the things that have worked for me and the things that I use to motivate myself, if I keep it short and sweet, people would actually read it. And, you know, I get comments all the time. This is the first book I've read in years, and I read it all in one sitting, and that was my goal. Everybody's got something that they're good at, and the hard part is just finding it. I found out early that I was a good salesperson, that I really liked business. You know, like I like sports. I mean, I read everything I possibly could, played sports as much as I could, just wasn't as good as I wanted to be, and business was the same way. I mean, as long as I could remember, I was buying and selling baseball cards, garbage bags, whatever I could find, stamped to collectors. But I was also reading everything I possibly could about business, and, you know, I was that unusual kid that I'd rather read about Ted Turner than go to the movies. And I just think that I just put in the time and was fortunate enough to really get excited about business. I mean, you can fake it till you make it in a lot of areas, particularly if you're working for somebody else. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be great at something, you've got to make the effort to be great at something. Whether it's sports, whether it's physics, math, science, business, whatever it may be, you know, it's not just a natural skill. You've got to learn, and particularly if you're in the technology industry, because it changes every day. When I got started, you know, after I was a bartender when I first came to Dallas, got into the PC industry, got fired, started my own company. But I learned early on that there was always something new, and most people didn't put in the time to learn it.
veteran entrepreneurs is perseverance. You know, you're used to having your back up against the wall. You're used to, fighting through the muck. You're used to the insane bureaucracy that you've had to deal with that comes for business. And I think there's a little bit more patience too. Perseverance is a better word. Being an entrepreneur, there aren't a lot of rules, and everything comes at you really fast, and you have to think on your feet. And I think having that veteran mentality and that background really makes it easier and makes you more suited for being an entrepreneur. So we've got Lisa and Cameron back there, and what I loved about what they were doing is they were working with military spouses, which was very original, and I like that. They took an original idea and turned it into a business, because the reality is, obviously, every single person in this room has an idea. Every person in the world has an idea, and you know how you get that feeling in your stomach, and then you talk to your friends and family, and they say, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And they say, oh, I like it. Then you go on Google, and you look, oh, there's nothing there. Then people stop. With our riveter, they kept on going. And one of the things that I really liked about what they were doing is that it was a hard business to organize.
After I was a bartender when I first came to Dallas, got into the PC industry, got fired, started my own company. But I learned early on that there was always something new, and most people didn't put in the time to learn it. It's like now with artificial intelligence. Lots of people talk about artificial intelligence. Lots of people talk about machine learning and neural networks. Not a lot of people are putting in the time to take classes or do the tutorials or to learn how to apply it to business, and that's what it takes. And that's just something I've always enjoyed. So I've been fortunate in any of those things. And if I don't understand how to apply it to my businesses, I remember selling PCs and software and walking in saying, you don't need to use that pen and paper on a notepad or a ledger pad. Now we're going to give you a spreadsheet. And by the way, here's a spreadsheet that costs $495, and I had to pay to go get trained on how to sell it, which is crazy now when you think about it. But then we said, okay, now you can play what if. Then we said you can connect these PCs. Unless I understood the technology, how was I going to explain it? How was I going to understand it? Unless I understand it now, how am I going to invest in it? Then I got to go trust somebody who says, oh yeah, I know AI, and maybe they do, maybe they don't. And it's really easy just to say you figure it out. Technology comes fast and furious, and most people are afraid or don't take the time to learn or want help for whatever reason. And this was the early days of the PC industry, and I just put in the time and whatever it took. I couldn't afford my own PC, and so I would tell a customer that, I'll learn the software, I'll install it, and I'll support it for you. Let me take your PC home so I can learn it. And then once you start learning a couple pieces of software, you get referrals, and I just grew the company and kept on growing and growing. And we made a couple right strategic moves. I always tried to ask myself, what's next? What's coming next? So with Micro Solutions, what worked out really well for us was, back then, it was common just to take a floppy drive and your floppy disk and just walk from PC to PC. You network basically. And I thought, that makes no sense. PCs are going to be connected up at some point so that people could share data. And so I want to learn how to network PCs. Well, there was one company, basically a company called Novell, that was doing it. And we became their third, fourth system integrator in the entire country. And I used that, connecting PCs together, local area networking, to turn Micro Solutions into, by the time we sold it, we were on a $30 million a year run rate. And one of the things I'm most proud of with Micro Solutions is that we were profitable every single month of our existence.
I figured, computers were new, and technology was new, this technology was new, so no one had a head start on me, because it was changing so rapidly like it is today, that if I just put in the time, I can learn as much as anybody else. And so I taught myself, I'd stay up late reading software manuals, taught myself different little simple programming languages, and kept on getting bigger and bigger and better and better, but it was at a retail store. And one of my responsibilities was to come in, sweep the floor, wipe down the windows, and open the store. And I had a customer who wanted me to come out there and close a deal. And it was a $15,000 deal, $1,500 commission to me. Told my boss, he said, no, you need to be there to open the store. And I made the executive decision that I was going to go get the check. I was living 6 guys in a 3-bedroom apartment, sleeping on the floor, and this check meant I could